in Britain, all about revenue, all over who was going to control the revenue of the slaves. They tell you all that crap about it being taxes. That was the fight between Britain and the Americans, but what it was really about is what was going to be the calibration and the operation ideology that would make everyone rich off of the sorrow, tears, and bloodshed of the people that was being stolen and brought here by force from Africa, and also the people that was here on this land that were also being given those same type of demonstrations from the invading, intruding Europeans that are still here to this day. That war between the North and the South got supplied by Britain. The North got sick of the South people coming up with their arrogant attitudes and their disregard for the people up North, because they had became very wealthy and got to the point where they were saying to the center government area that we don't care about what you say anymore. We're going to print our own money. We're making our own wealthy state of existence down there off of slavery. So pretty much you can take your governing egos and stick them up your ass. But the North was like, no, because see, we have Britain backing us up. Because let's not forget, it was Britain that came over here and killed all the people and stole the land. This is what the North was saying to the South. They don't tell us this in the school books, but I'm going to drop it like it's hot for you. And the North was also saying to the South, we know that you made a lot of money off slavery, and we know you got cocky because you've been down there raping all those black women and beating up all those black men, but you up North now, and you will take your hat off, and you will not spit on my floor, and you will respect my wife. And the South was like, no, I will not. See, because I don't really care about your sorry Yankee ass, because that's the type of stuff that's always been in the heart of these people. The dichotomization of self between them has always been a part of their genetic makeup. So of course they had to have a war, and Britain's best interest was to keep the government that was established because they had formed it. So of course Britain and the North joined forces together and kicked the shit out of the South. And all that Confederate money that they thought they were going to be perpetuating around and starting a new source of fraudulent currency, it was like, oh no, we've already did that. See, we've already did that, so your Confederate money will not fly. We will be keeping the green money. And that's pretty much the truth about that. So Great Britain came in again and helped the North to keep order. And to this day, it's Great Britain that's behind all this stuff that they're talking about right now. This young lady right here. So I just thought I'd point that out to you guys and let you see why, even to this day, there's a dichotomization between the government and the citizens, because it's always been like that. In the early days, the first people that came here, they claimed they came here on the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, or the Mayflower. Any one of those groups of people all attest to the fact that they were leaving Europe to escape persecution. That was the story of all of them. Whether it was religious persecution or political persecution, you go get the books yourself and read them.
Even though these police departments don't need this equipment, they will still use it, and they'll use it for stupid things. Like, for instance, they'll go to they'll raid a party, for instance.
The House was hoping that you would never learn about. Now, the president signed the National Defense Resources Preparedness Executive Order.
Gives the president the power to control U.S. resources in times of war and peace.
Now, this includes, but is not limited to, food and livestock, water, plants, energy, health resources, transportation, and construction materials, and gives the government the ability to, quote, control the general distribution of any material, including applicable services, in the civilian market. This would give the President of the United States the authority to declare, basically, martial law during times of peace.
So it's starting to sound more and more like we're getting closer to martial law by the day. Now, while you say that most Americans say that they don't care, they have nothing to hide, think those Americans would care, might feel differently if it turns out that what the police were doing is illegal. They're law enforcement, and yet many departments aren't even bothering to get warrants because they can get the technology on their own. And you know, going through the court system, getting a warrant, all that stuff is just so tedious.
If you're not breaking the law, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you shouldn't worry what the government is doing.
Well, I think the average person out there thinks that this is only being used to pursue radical Islam and these terrorist groups, but they don't need a law like this to go after 150 or 200 people. This is being used on tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of Americans, where they just go on these fishing expeditions looking for stuff. And, you know, your viewers out there can say, if I'm not doing anything wrong, I don't have anything to worry about. But we've always been told from a young age in school onward that if you're not doing anything wrong, the government in America does not look through your emails. The government does not look through what you're doing.
If it's the bad guys, it's those foreign terrorists, then it's okay. It's not like my government would ever do it to me. But guess what? You're wrong, because your government would totally do that to you, and now they'll be able to by law.
Some of the things that make you suspicious of terrorism are having food, having more than 7 days of food, missing fingers on your hand, having ammunition, having weatherproofed ammunition, having several guns at your house.
That's right, people who pay for small purchases in cash, like coffee or gum, apparently that's a big red flag. Big time. So you should be careful of those that are overly concerned about their privacy. And that is the exact language in the FBI pamphlet. And attempting to shield the computer screen from other patrons, well, that's a sure sign that you're suspicious.
We're talking about someone suspected of activities.
All right, so despite the fact that there's no relation to any terrorist activity or investigation, the government has decided that they want to keep all that data they have about you anyway, because you never know when you're going to need it somewhere down the line. But as much as we all want the country to be safe, want the authorities to be on top of it, are we really willing to have the government consider each and every one of us a terrorist? You see, that's essentially what's happening. If you look at the language within the guidelines of the NCTC and what it's meant for, it's supposed to receive intelligence exclusively pertaining to domestic terrorism.
Counterterrorism officials are now allowed to keep tabs on anyone for up to 5 years, even if they have no ties to terror. Are you willing to sacrifice your freedom for liberty?
We have let Roosevelt's fear of fear itself overtake us. We have listened to the little voice inside that has said, this will be temporary, this will be precise, this too shall pass. We have accepted that the only way to stop the terrorists is to let the government become just a little bit like the terrorists.
But the problem is most people don't know, and those who do know don't necessarily care.
Goodness gracious, indefinite, preemptive, or endless detention surely doesn't apply to U.S. citizens unless current or future president said so. Don't you worry a bit.
And if you somehow think habeas corpus has not been suspended for American citizens, but only for everybody else, ask yourself this. If you are pulled off the street tomorrow and they call you an alien, or an undocumented immigrant, or an unlawful enemy combatant, exactly how are you going to convince them to give you a court hearing to prove you are not? Do you think this attorney general is going to help you?
And I think that if the average person knew about this, they would be quite upset. I think the average person just doesn't know, to be honest. I hope that they do find out about these grotesque abuses of government power and just massive wastes of money. And, you know, we're more than a decade out from 9/11. We've killed Osama bin Laden. We have killed or detained most of his deputies. So the real question becomes, who are we fighting against? This should be a dinner table conversation. Every American should be asking, should we be spending billions of dollars on these things when people are out of work, when our infrastructure is failing, and when other economies like China are, you know, scheming ahead and we're falling behind? Is this really what we should be spending our money on, spying on our own people and buying ammunition to protect government against our own people? It doesn't make sense. I think the Patriot Act should have been allowed to expire, and it's a huge mistake that Obama redid it.
So the fact that they spent hundreds of millions of dollars just to go after 7 people that are in charge of a foreign website.
As you said, this has been a very partisan Congress. They can't agree to do anything. And yet, it seems like over the past few months, they've really been hell-bent on taking away Americans' rights. And I don't know why that is.
The thing is, you also have to realize that it's all part of the bigger picture. It's all connected.
The world around us has been...
Okay. I want to ask you a question. See, it's not the ideal to take away American rights. You never had no rights. Let me explain to you guys what happened. Time speeded up because the earth started making its passes around the sun started making its passes around the earth faster. So human consciousness speeded up. Even though a lot of people don't realize that, that's the reason why our weeks go by faster. Because our sun is moving faster, which means your perception of things is faster. So since people's perception of things picked up faster, you was able to move outside of the matrix grid that you was locked down in. The government did not be able to progress the matrix as fast as the human mind was able to move out of it. So people are waking up and they're seeing the tricks of the government. This is not new pressure that the government is putting on you. This pressure has always been here. The problem is you never had the consciousness to see it this way before. So this is why they're nervous. They know the sunlight got here. It's waking everybody up. They're throwing all this bullshit out there to make your mind be boggled down with things to focus on other than focusing on them. And how necessary it is to fire all those motherfuckers and get them out of office. Don't be afraid of their little military equipment and all that stuff, because you know what? They plan on killing you slowly anyway. We're already dead. All this slavery shit, all this, your children gonna be on drugs, all this bad food, we're already fucking dead. Deal with it the way it is. We're already dead. But you can wake up. That's what the sunlight is trying to do. Wake people up. That's why now more than ever, you need to take a stand on knowing how important it is to eradicate everything that you have in your bag that's going to help you other than yourself in the development of a cognitive quest to get your God knowledge. Don't let Bishop Blake and T.D. Jake read all the damn books and then you go and listen to their shit on Sunday. Read for yourself. Learn how our universe works for yourself. And that's how you can stop these governments from being able to do this bullshit. Because the only thing they did is put you to sleep. The sun rotation around the earth speeded up. Your perception speeded up with it. And we caught them off guard. And now people are able to see the scoundrels that they are. They've always been this way. You just was never able to see it before. There is nothing changed. World War I and World War II already happened. And this shit that you see right now has already happened in a lot of our lifetimes. Some of us is 70, 80 years old. You was back in 1945. If you 85 years old, you know what I'm saying is true. You can tell everybody that man know what the hell he's talking about, because all this shit that they doing right now is nothing new. When I was a young man, they did the same shit. And I know there's a lot of you old white men out there that know what I'm saying is true. Because your ass was over in Europe and you fought in that war only to come home and see what a fool your country made out of you. Yourself, no, I'm telling the truth. So I'm going to let you guys listen to them some more. But I just have to drop my little stuff in there when I get it to try to help. Alright?
Manipulated, coerced in a direction where human life is outweighed by profit. Corporations and bankers now influence the policies, regulations, and even the decisions made by our own governments who have sold us down the river. They took our dreams, our futures. They took them from you, from all of us. And in their own arrogant, condescending fashion, they expect you to roll over and accept it. They pass into law further restrictions on your personal rights and freedoms. They want you to shut up, to keep quiet, keep you alone and all of us divided. Marketing has you chasing an image, telling you what you need to do, what to think and say, how to
Ignorant
feel,
consumers.
how to dress.
Ignorant
how to be
consumers.
you.
Ignorant
Who are you?
consumers.
Do you even know? Can you honestly tell me that you are happy with life as it is defined for you? Open your eyes, it's all out in front of you. Stop.